Hello everyone, today I'm going to read a new book, The Beast of Buckingham Palace by David Williams. And first of all, my former brave friend Harry Davis, thank you, I would like to thank you. The author said, Britain, the year is 2020, 100 years in the future. The kingdom is dark. Britain has not seen sunlight for 15 years. The government has been overthrown, and once again, the king rules the kingdom from Buckingham Palace, still home to the royal family. It is now also a fortress. No one can get it or out. And these are the characters in the story. Prince, uh, Prince Alfred is a sickly boy of 12 who has never known life outside Buckingham Palace. The king was once a great ruler and a kind father. Now he's lost as his kingdom. And the queen is an impossibly posh lady who is much loved by her son, and she and Alfred have an unbreakable bond. The Lord Protector is a learned man who began his royal career 40 years ago in the palace library. He has risen to become the king's closest advisor, but yearns for more powers. Might is homeless or thin from the outside. She is so called because of her small size. Her parents were killed when she was a toddler, and since she has had to fend for herself. Nanny. Nanny is a lady in her 80s who in her job has looked after two generations of royal children. She cared for King when he was a boy and is now the nanny to Prince Alfred. The old queen is an elderly lady who was queen when her husband was king. Now she is damned to be a traitor and is living somewhere in exile. So no one knows where, except her, of course. Lady Agatha and Lady Enid are two of the old queen's lady-in-waiting. As ladies in waiting, they performed various duties for the old queen, such as tending to her dresses, carrying baskets of flowers, and typing letters. Now they too live in exile for with four other ladies in waiting: Lady Beatrice, Lady Virginia, Lady Daphne, and Lady Judith. The royal guards are elite soldiers in gold, skull masks and flowing red robes. They are armed with laser guns and they're meant to protect the palace at all cost. The executioner is a giant man whose face is covered by a black hood. He is in charge of all the torture and executions at the Tower of London. The octopus is an eight-armed robot that is meant to perform the same task as a human butler. The all-seeing eyes is a flying robot that resembles a giant eyes. It is under the control of Lord Protector, and so he can monitor everyone and everything in Buckingham Palace. Prologue. And the griffin is the king of the beast. It is half eagle, the king of the birds, and half lion. The king is the king of the animals. The head and wings are those of an eel, while the body and back, legs, and those of lion. For centuries, the beast has been thought of all of legend, and early civilization worship the griffin. It can be found in stories from both ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. And as in medieval times, this half eagle, half lions, because of a symbol of godlike powers, the power over life and death. The power is too great or destroy the universe, and infinite, infinite power for all eternity. The sight of the griffin will inspire terror in the hearts of all the men. That is why the beasts were used as symbols through the centuries by king and queen. Griffin can be seen on coats of arms, flags, and shield. The message was simple: these are you will suffer a terrible fate at the claw of the beast. And it looked a little like a dinosaur. Those terrifying creatures that stalked the earth millions of years ago. However, unlike dinosaurs, no one has ever found the skeleton of one. But that doesn't mean that a griffin never died or one day might not live again. Part 1: The Coming of the Beast. Now let me read part 1. Dark. It was noon, and the sky was black. There had been darkness over the kingdom for half a century. For many years before, the people of the earth had not taken care of their home. They had burned down the forests, reducing every last tree to ash. They have pumped the rivers, lakes, and seas full of waste, killing all the fish. They had dug deeper and deeper under the ground for oil, until the planet was hollow to its core. Eventually, the Earth looked as revenge. The ice caps, the Arctic and the Antarctic melted. The floods were so mighty that whole countries became submerged underwater. Violent earthquakes shook entire cities to the ground. All was left behind were piles and piles of rubble. Volcanoes erupted, pumping billions of tons and ash into the air. Without sunlight, the crops withered and died. Nothing could grow. The kingdom was plunged into an internal winter. It was the only world Fred knew. He was he was already 12 years old, but had never ever seen sunlight. Often he dreamed how it must have been to feel the sun on your face, or run through a field of tall grass, or swim in a sunlit sea. But it was just that, a dream. The boy had seen pictures of the sun in books, and marveled at it. A perfect circle of gold. Now the moon and stars had become invisible too. Alfred was spent hours and hours imagining how the night sky must have looked with a thousand little lights twinkling through the blackness. He was one of those children who liked nothing more than being alone with his imagination. In truth, he he had little choice, having been struggling with whole life. Soon After he was born, he became ill as a baby. As a baby, right? So Alfred had not been expected to survive, but survive he did. Yes. So the child was a paw of snow and as thin as dust. He wore thick glasses to aid his poor eyesight. Often Alfred was so weak he had to stay in bed all day. Thank goodness all round his bed were piles and piles of books. Books, books, and more books. Books about animals, books about space, books about trees, books about dinosaurs, books about books. Books about history were his absolute favorite. The trouble was there was strict curfew in the building where Alfred lived. Last was the most dangerous time. That was when there was most chance of an attack from the outside. Light had to be out of 8 o'clock sharp. In order of the king, on anyone caught with lies on would be several punishments were brutal in the kingdom, and those in power had returned to a medieval form of torture. The, the thumb creel, the iron maiden, the breaking wheel, the pillory, the back, the skull's brittle, the rat's dungeon, the head crusher, the iron chair. Despite the strict rules, the boy loved his book so much that he could carry on reading by candlelight under his bed's cover. The night our story begins, Alfred was doing just that. He was reading a weighty, leather-bound books about kings and queens of Britain through the age. The first known as no one was Alfred the Great. He has become the ruler of an impossibility in long times ago. In 1871, the boy was named after the first king. But it was hard to believe anybody would ever describe this Alfred as great, he felt anything but. As the boy was devouring the stories of the beheading of King Charlie I in 1649, a defending sound rocked the room. Count Boone, Alfred dropped his look, thumped, and his candle. He very nearly set the cover alight. Wolf moved the flames and flowing the candle out. Whoosh! He pulled it off his bed's cover. Whip! A huge explosion outside has illuminated the boy's bedroom was glowing red, orange, yellow, and light. Red, orange, color, and white. Yellow light. Alfred slid out of bed and using all his strength, leaped over to his huge bay window just those few steps left him painfully out of breath. Ha, ha, ha. He leaned on the window frame to steady himself. Alfred on the window frame to steady himself. Alfred's bedroom was high on the top floor. From here, he could see far across London. A building was ablaze, but not just any building. St. Paul's Cathedral, the historic structure, perhaps one of the most famous in the world, had been destroyed. Its hue white done, cracked as if it were nothing more than an egg. Huge plumes of black smoke billowed high into the air. And oh no, thought Alfred, no, not at St. Paul's. He had seen many London landmarks destroyed over the year. News and column had been topped the ground. Crunch! The London Eye had plunged into the River Thames. Splash! The Royal Bird half roof had caved in after a bomb had blazed it to pieces. Boom! However, none of these was a secret. As Estiples, there was a new law. The cathedral had been built after the Great Fire of London in 1616. The glorious structure had miraculously survived the place when Nazi bombs rained down on London during World War II, when I was burning to the ground. And Alfred's next stop was revolutionaries. They had all the hallmarks of one of their attacks. The boy had never met anyone from his top secret organization, but the law protector had taught has taught him much about them. From what Alfred had been told, the revolutionary hate the facts, that power had returned to the king, and they wanted to overthrow him and behead him, just like the Roundheads had done to Charles and during the English Civil War. These revolutionaries stood only for death and destruction. That is why the Lord Protector said they need to be crushed at all cost. Rat-tat-tat, there was bursts of machine gun fire. Oh, the distance sound short. Art was what that scream. Alfred shivered as much as he wanted to look away he couldn't. Every day there were attacks all over London, but explosions on this scale were rare. The boy pressed his hand up against the cold, thick glass and looked out up at the devastation. This was the this was the kingdom Alfred would one day inherit. Goodbye and see you next time.